What's up guys, so this is going to be a little update here on some maintenance we're doing. It's finally time to do the ball joints, so I've been putting it off as long as we possibly could, you know, and we never really got death wobble with the current setup. So I mean, we've been a last pretty long. We did not do like a whole bunch of like hard riding or anything with these, but we do not want to you know, delay this any further, because we want to just go ahead and make sure that you know, we have a good peace of mind, you know, having something solid in here. So we did, as you guys saw, we did go with the TeraFlex heavy duty. I think the lower ones are adjustable ball joints there, so those are going to be really nice. And we did hear from a lot of people that those are going to be you know, like one of the best options really to get for the JK here. So this should be a pretty good product here, and it should hold up and be nice and reliable and everything like that. So we did rent the ball joint press kit from Advanced Auto Parts, and you know, obviously it's not going to be specifically for the Jeep, so we are going to have a little bit of an issue pressing the ball joint in not 100% perfectly straight. So we'll have to kind of mess with it here and there, and we'll have to you know, switch back and forth between the cups and all that good stuff. So it's going to be kind of a pain. Definitely dreading this install, but it's got to happen sooner or later. So we're going to go ahead and start. As you guys can tell, it's nighttime right now, so I'm going to go ahead and knock out just the main stuff, like taking the tires off and getting it all exposed, and you know, probably getting the knuckles and all that good stuff off, and then we'll probably try to knock it out. We're, you know, pressing them out and then pressing the new ones back in, hopefully tomorrow, which will be Saturday. So good little weekend project there. Got the tires off here. Looking to the looking for the most efficient way to do this here. So I think instead of, you know, taking off the wheel spacer and then taking off the brake caliper with these 13 mil bolts, I think I'm going to try and just take off these like caliper bracket bolts instead. So got a breaker bar on these. I'm going to zip these off and see if I can actually get them to you know, free up this entire assembly here. It's going to be a little tricky trying to get that back in here with that ABS line. Probably gonna have to bend that bracket up a little bit, but trying to get that back in there, and hopefully that'll be a little bit easier. And then you know, I'll update you guys here in a second and show you what I do next. So this is a lot more simple than the last times that we have done it, just because you know, like repetition. So looking at everything here, the rock lights do really help a lot. Just having a light on this area, especially at night, it's really awesome. So I'm able to see everything really well. So basically the theory of taking out these two large bolts for the caliper bracket did work. So we have the entire caliper, brake pads, and the bracket all in one assembly, zip tied to the brake con bracket right there. So that's anchored up and out of the way. And then the next thing, we as you can tell, the ABS sensor, that is completely out, and that was basically just popped out of the frame on the back side of the shock tower right there, and then disconnected up through there. So, you know, pulled the inner fender liner back and then disconnected that. So that was not too hard. It just took a little bit of elbow grease to disconnect that. So we got that disconnected, and then that should allow us to take out these 13 millimeter bolts. So we have for the wheel hub right here. As you can see, we have one right here, my finger is, and in the process of breaking this one loose, and then one behind here, behind the axle shaft. So three basically stud bolts that go into the wheel hub. So that's what holds that on there, and that should allow us, since we have the ABS line disconnected from the frame, that should allow us to keep the wheel spacer on and the rotor on to the hub as well. So that should work out pretty well. Not sure how it's going to fare once it comes time to actually like break in the wheel hub away from the knuckle. We'll have to see once we get there, but we'll to, you know, kind of tap on it with a hammer or something like that without damaging the rotor or something like that. But the goal is to take out the drag link here, so that'll be disconnected, and also leave the tie rod ends connected to the knuckle, because don't really feel like messing with this castle nut again and you know, trying to beat this joint out. So gonna try to leave those in and then drop the knuckles one side at a time, and then take that out as one with the tie rod in there. So, you know, especially not messing up the alignment or anything weird like that. So once the hub assembly and axle shaft comes out as one, we will be able to access the castle nut on the bottom of the upper ball joint, and then we'll be able to impact the lower ball joint off, or should be able to. It's kind of tight on space right here, but it does help being, you know, having this lifted as high as that we can really get it on the jack stands. But so that's where we are currently at here. Pretty much a lot more simple and efficient this time around. So taking the brake caliper off is one assembly unit here, disconnect the ABS line, tying everything up pretty nicely, and then unbolting the wheel hub here. Gonna try to beat that out, let you guys know how that goes. Might have to take the rotor off, but we'll see. And then you know, disconnecting the drag link. So once we do that, we should be able to take off the 2 ball joint castle nuts and should be able to pop the knuckle out, and then be good to go. So that worked pretty well. That I actually sprayed some WD-40 in the backside of these 13mm wheel hub bolts, so you can see the WD-40 kind of penetrated and got soaked in a little bit here. So I was able to tap on the rotor here without damaging it. It's just some grease, or you know, we'll clean that up later. But I got the whole assembly actually completely separated here, so that helps out a lot. That way, able to take out this entire, you can already see all the mud coming out of there. Ooh, that's gonna be fun to clean. So I'm gonna use both hands here and pull this whole assembly out, and then we'll be able to take the castle nuts off of the upper and lower ball joint here, and then pop the knuckle right out with the tie rod still connected, in theory. So I think that's the way we did it in the past, so it should work pretty good. Oh yeah, so these splines are looking nice and straight from the wheeling trip that we did with the Toyo 40s. Surprisingly, because those were some heavy 40s. So you know, we didn't like completely abuse it, but you know, we did a little wheeling here and there. So pretty straight splines, so not bent, not cracked, nothing. So you know, we have the open diff, so it's a lot more safe. Got the JK brake diff lock, so helps out a lot here. And that's pretty much how we plan on wheeling here until, you know, we do a 1-ton swap. But gonna be a minute as funds allow it. But you can see this side looks really good as well, so it's all good there. Clean that up and get these knuckles popped off here and start pressing ball joints. Alright, so this is not the most professional way to take the knuckle off, but steering stabilizer is holding up the tie rod for us, so that's actually pretty nice, you know, but that's all good. It's definitely not hurting anything. I'm not concerned about the steering stabilizer at all, so I mean, I know it's definitely not hurting the stabilizer whatsoever, but we're okay. It's also holding up the drag link as well, so there's no strain on the pitman arms, sector shaft for the steering box, so we're all good there. And we have plenty of access to press out these ball joints now. Not too bad on the first upper ball joint here. So the first initial like break of the ball joint, not like necessarily break, but like breaking it free, was pretty tough, not gonna lie. So we actually got the cheater bar right here, pipe, put on the end of the breaker bar, and it went pop, and it broke free. So that was the initial one, and then as you guys saw, the rest of the torquing on that was not too bad. So this is the first ball joint here, taking a damage assessment look at it. Obviously the boot's off. It's actually not even like bad. It doesn't have any play in it whatsoever, so that's not really going to be our main concern, I guess. It's probably going to be the lower one. It's going to have the wear and tear on it, but this one seems to be fine, surprisingly. So, you know, 92,000 miles, 40s, C-gussets welded. So, you know, obviously we haven't been running these C-gussets and 40s for 92,000 miles, but that's just like the life of these. So, not too bad overall. So, on the bottom here, we did use a, let's see, what size is this? On the 3/8 socket. So, as you can see, you know, it's got the adapter. So it's pretty good for using. We used it upside down to press the ball joint out, and we're able to use, you know, just the regular ball joint kit here. And for the top, use this the lowest and one of the widest cups we could find. So that was able to hold there with the cap on it, obviously. So, you know, stud could press down while this was pushing up. So that worked pretty well, combination for us. You guys saw that. And now we should be able to press the bottom one out pretty easily. Kind of figure out what combination is going to work for that. Also going to keep this combination set aside, so we'll have it memorized for the next side. So I have the bottom one here with a lot of tension on the snipe or the cheater bar, whatever you want to call it. And basically it was not trying to, it was getting like really tight and it wasn't wanting to like break free. So I just tapped the lower C here with a sledge. So that actually made it pop loose and I was able to drive it right out. So this one is not too bad. It's got like a hair of play. I mean, you can't really notice it. Yeah, you can't even really notice it, but I mean, obviously it's kind of loose, but you know, it's the lower ball joint, so it's expected. So this is it's not like terrible. I've seen a lot worse, and that's our experience and that's our situation. You know, it's not gonna be the same for everybody, but this is the bottom one. We can add that to the pile over there, and we can probably press the bottom one in first since the top one's already out. This is the top one here, so I'll probably press that one in last just because we'll be able to access the bottom one through the top hole, you know, like with the tool there. So should be pretty easy. And I bet you guys here, we're probably gonna go ahead and throw the knuckle back on, so that way when we take that side off, it'll have something holding it up over here. So one side at a time here, we'll be good to go. All right, so the top ball joint, I could not find a combination that would press in straight, of course, you know, as expected, without having a specific Jeep ball joint, like cup kit, I guess, like, you know, if you get those on Amazon or whatever, but, or like a snap-on, like super expensive. But what I actually ended up doing was I used the longer socket, and it actually fits around the upper ball joint. Let me show you perfectly. So basically what we did is, see how it sits on this lip right here? We actually just pounded it on with the sledgehammer, and it went in nice and straight. And I'm sure that's, you know, kind of frowned upon, but you know, don't recommend that. But it honestly, to our knowledge, did not you know, really affect anything whatsoever, because it's pressing, or it's being hit straight on the edge right here. So that's being pressed down anyways, you know, as long as you don't hit anywhere up here on the top, you know, like we're on the side or anything, and being careful not to mess up the threads, stuff like that, you know. It's, I think the way that we just did that was perfectly fine. You know, obviously, you know, if you have enough knowledge on the physics and all that stuff and what to expect from that, then you know, we should be good. And so it's, as you guys see, we'll get up here close, and it is fully seated here, and it looks really good. So we actually didn't even have to remove the drag link, so that was we'll get that nice and tightened back up. So just learned that, so that'll be, you know, a little tip for saving time next time. Yeah, it should be good to go on that. You know, like I said, do at your own risk. That's just how we did it, so just showing you guys what worked for us, basically. So we should be good to go. Throw the knuckle back on and be ready to roll. Ball joints are actually, they're tightened up the front end a little bit, but we do still have a little bit of like delay, I guess you could say, in the steering wheel, and that's going to be from the factory drag link. So, you know, that's a little bit worn out, but if we can do a drag link flip, a new drag link, that would definitely make everything complete and have, you know, more instant response and overall just tight. So the ball joints did tighten it up a little bit, but there still is just a little bit of delay, so it's kind of a weird feeling to get used to. But definitely going good so far. So recheck the bolts and all that good stuff. So just returned the tool to Advanced Auto Parts, so we are good there, and everything is finalized. So it was actually a pretty simple process, you know, since we've done it a few times in the past. So just doing all the efficient things there, doing most of the things at once, it really helped out a lot, saved a lot of time, and we got it thrown back together really quick, actually. And a couple things I wanted to point out, just a few things that we learned during the process I want to share with you guys, was the lower ball joint needs the grease fittings to face inward, so they'll clear these 3.6 axle shafts. Apparently they're bigger for some reason, but everything else went in great. Also, one thing is, do not forget to put this ABS line bracket back in once you put the castle nut back on for the upper ball joint, because I have done it in the past where I've put everything back on. I forgot this little bracket. I had to, you know, take the axle shaft back out and then, you know, take the nut back off. So doing the cotter pin and all that stuff again. So that's something just a note there. Learn from my mistake. But that's just a couple little tips there, and yeah, this should be good. We'll see how it goes.